Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and continuing series on the MiSTer FPGA DE10 Nano project. More specifically, in this instance, both Jotego's coming CPS III core for Capcom arcade games, as well as improvements on the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I'm kind of mixing these videos together because it feels like a double topic sort of thing, but honestly, people have been asking for Capcom CPS III on MiSTer FPGA for the longest time, and Jotego's definitely still talking about it, so we're going to get into some of the updates today. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But Capcom CPS III has long been talked about on MiSTer FPGA as one of those most desired cores, because Jotego and his team have given us Capcom CPS II as well, so obviously it seems like it's time to finish the job and do the entire Capcom CPS range all the way up to 3. And even though it has the most limited library of any of Capcom's in-house developed arcade boards, it has some of the best fighting games of all time, so I totally understand why people want it. But speaking of fighting games, let's pop over to the Neo Geo Pocket Color for a bit, because over the weekend, Jotego updated the Neo Geo Pocket and Neo Geo Pocket Color cores for both MiSTer FPGA as well as Analog Pocket. These have been around for over a year now, but they definitely still have some glitches, so it seems like Jotego and his team pop back and forth between standalone arcade cores and some of these more handheld or console related cores. And even if the Neo Geo Pocket and Color is in no way, shape, or form anywhere near as powerful as Capcom CPS III, it has a ton of fun games, including a specific exclusive Beastbusters game that's like an action role-playing game that I love. And of course, we're going to get something like The Last Blade, except in the Pocket Edition. And honestly, the improvements here are awesome, and it is fun to see Neo Geo Pocket, Neo Geo Pocket Color get updated, because I would assume 99 out of 100 of you don't have a Neo Geo Pocket in your collection. I have one in my closet somewhere, but honestly, even I haven't taken it out for a bit. But seeing The Last Blade here running on the most recent core updates, definitely getting improved, and it does seem like Jotego is revisiting some of those older ideas, like the Neo Geo Pocket as well as Capcom CPS III, because he's been talking about this thing for years now, but he has stated the goal for the back half of 2025 in part is the Capcom CPS III boards. And if you have one in your collection, or if you're at all familiar with them, they have a couple fundamental flaws. One, they are incredibly expensive. Two, they are incredibly delicate unless you modify them to get a working Capcom CPS III setup that would run all of the games. You wouldn't have to worry about it basically grenading itself. You're talking like $1,500 any day of the week, and if it's a bad day, maybe $2,000. So it's one of those things. Software emulation for Capcom CPS III is outstanding on the Final Burn Neo front, as is something like Neo Geo Pocket and Color emulation, but honestly getting all of this hardware would be great, because on the Pocket side of things, without a screen mod, the hardware definitely is a little bit antiquated, and on the CPS III side of things, if you even so much as look at the damn thing the wrong way, it is going to break on you. So seeing all this from Jotego is awesome, because honestly, in the first half of 2025, he's had some awesome cores come out, and then just some improvement weeks where it's kind of been some bug fixing, and it's one of those things, you can't get an awesome new amazing core every single week. It does take time to do these things, but it seems like the back half of 2025 is going to be a big time for Capcom CPS III and other arcade cores from Jotego, and I'm sure in part this is down to the fact that SRG320 has basically buttoned up those Hitachi SH2 processors that are on board the Sega Saturn and Sega Titan video cores, because the Capcom CPS III is going to be using the exact same CPU. Now, of course, on the other end of the hardware, it's got a lot of customs on there, including a lot of things that Capcom made in-house that'll have to be reverse engineered, but it's got some incredible sound as well because it is CD based. So go ahead and listen to a soundtrack sample, and I'll be right back with more news. So taking a look at some of the publicly available information on Jotego's Patreon, you can view this without a membership, but you definitely should grab one. I've been a member for a few years now. He's also talking about Konami's running gun and frame buffers that'll also go towards the Capcom CPS III core. A frame buffer is just another way to store visual information in preparation for displaying on the screen. Just think of the buffer kind of like any other buffer on your computer, except it's just storing that visual information. So getting something like Konami's running gun loaded up into MiSTer FPGA will definitely help getting something like Capcom CPS III running as well, because every single piece of hardware out there uses a frame buffer. Many of the systems on MiSTer do not. There's more than one way to get visual information from the actual silicon to your TV, but a frame buffer is one of them, and it's something that systems moved over to as they got more modern, and it's definitely something that's going to be required for Capcom CPS III. So it makes total sense that Jotego and their team are going to go ahead and get run and gun loading up first, because a lot of the hardware tied to these systems is already running on MiSTer FPGA because of all of those different Konami cores that Jotego has released that are based upon this hardware. But remember, arcade boards are different than home consoles. Even if it is in the same nuclear family or generation of hardware under the same name, it can and will have different actual boards on it with different hardware. So it's one of those things. Think of it as a baseboard, and arcade games will swap in and out different PCBs to help along the way with whatever the developers wanted visually or graphically when they were making the game. So it is one of those realities. It isn't a fixed system when it comes to arcade boards. So even though there are cores running on this hardware, something like Run and Gun needs something extra like that frame buffer, as would Capcom CPS III. So this overall kind of work scope, this timeline, trying to get Run and Gun running first before you move to Capcom CPS III makes perfect sense, and it really is building on all of that code and experience to get something like the CPS III running. But leave me a comment down below and you tell me, favorite Capcom CPS III game? For me, it's definitely JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. While I love Street Fighter III, I've never been great at the game, so it's one of those things. I've always preferred Alpha. But just imagine Capcom CPS III running on your televisions on what I would assume would be MiSTer FPGA, but there is a little bit of a question mark there, and one that I do not have any details on that you wouldn't have, but I've been getting a lot of questions on this, because Jotego also mentioned when he talked about Run and Gun in CPS III the following sentence: there will also be new hardware releases tied to these systems, plus a few surprises along the way. What is that new hardware? I have absolutely no idea whatsoever. Run and Gun seems like it should be able to run on MiSTer FPGA, so this is some sort of new subboard or helper board that you're going to plug into your MiSTer FPGA. Is it a new FPGA board in and of itself? I have absolutely no idea. Was it just a little bit of a bad translation because Jotego's native language is Spanish, not English? It could be any of the above, and as soon as I know, I will obviously tell you. Well, obviously you don't need new hardware for something like Pocket Color though, so again, another system that has been improved. I'm just kind of bopping back and forth to talk about all Jotego's updates, but obviously the one people want to know about the most is Capcom CPS III, so I've been mixing and matching. But it's soundtrack sample time, and I'll be right back. So no frame buffer there whatsoever, but a fun soundtrack. But again, as far as new hardware is concerned, I am as in the dark as everybody else. I'm sure when Jotego wants to tell us what he means, he will do so. Now, do I think that an entire new FPGA board is coming for Capcom CPS III? I'm really not sure. I can't imagine it being a massive seller if it does everything MiSTer FPGA does and just has one more board on it, being CPS III, because even though it's got some of the best fighting games Capcom ever made, it is also an extremely limited library comprised of just fighting games. And obviously with Street Fighter III, you have 3 different versions of the game, but it is still just 3 different versions of Street Fighter III. You got 2 JoJo's Adventures, and you have Red Earth as well, so it is a really fun library, but it is incredibly limited compared to something like IGS PGM, Neo Geo, or even Capcom CPS and CPS II. So my real wonder and question would be if the market would even bear a new board, a completely new board that is for one thing like Capcom CPS III. Sure, in fighting game circles, if it could get adopted for competitive play, I think there would be a market out there, but I am just really kind of curious about that myself. So leave me a comment down below. If there was a new FPGA platform that ran CPS III and everything else MiSTer FPGA ran, would you be interested in picking one up? Obviously I would for the video potential, but I'm kind of wondering what people want out there, because obviously MiSTer FPGA is still the de facto best way to play FPGA gaming, and it is one of those things. As of now, competitors have tried to come into the market, but they honestly haven't shipped any products, and I know Analog 3 is going to have a bigger FPGA chip on it, but I highly doubt that Analog ever unlocks that thing until they have consoles like PlayStation 1 and Sega Saturn out as well, because if they actually opened up the FPGA chip on the Analog 3D, it could definitely run Sega Saturn and PlayStation 1, then it would be incredibly difficult for Analog to sell standalone consoles for those two platforms, and they are definitely not going to screw up their own business model by giving it to you early. But as far as when Capcom CPS III is coming, we'll just have to wait and see. As far as what this new hardware surprise is, we're going to have to wait as well, but you know when I know, I'll make a video and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.